Okay, so you are watching this because you couldn't come to the MT that we're having whole group today. Depending on when you're watching this, we are going to, or we did start the MT session off with a do now that really was grounded in reminding you why you signed up for AP Biology. This class is not a required course for DSST. So you are a junior, you could have taken regular biology. You're a senior, you could have taken another science class. Why AP Bio? Why did you choose to be here? Maybe it was the GPA boost. Maybe you wanted to look more competitive on your college apps. Maybe you just really enjoy science, so you wanted to learn at the AP level. Maybe you want to study science in college, and you knew that this class would help prepare you to become a doctor or to do research in the future. Maybe you don't like science, actually, and maybe you knew that if you took this class and took the test and passed at the end of the year, that you wouldn't have to take biology in college. Regardless, ground yourself in this reflection. Why are you here? You're probably wondering what this is all about and why we're making you guys think about these things. And it's related to the case study. So today we're going to go over the case study formative, or we have, again, depending on when you're watching this. But regardless, today's MT is about that case study, integrity, and the future of assessments. This is really not fair for all of you, and I know that. So I first of all want to apologize to all of you who practiced integrity when you were doing this case study, who really worked hard to show us what you know. Because some of your peers did not do that. Some of your peers were not honest. And it was very, very clear and very, very obvious that some of your peers found the answers to this case study online. And I knew that they were out there. Maybe this was my fault for being naive and thinking that every single one of you were going to be honest and that every single one of you just wanted to show us what you knew. But first, my apology is to those of you who did. Those of you who worked hard and deserve to have this impact your grade in a positive way, or deserve to get feedback that reflects how much you know. Because the integrity of the case study is compromised, and because not all of your peers live with integrity in the same way that you do, we are not grading the case studies. We're not going to waste our time going through and seeing how everybody did and putting them in IC, because it just doesn't seem like something that makes sense as it is right now. And that's why I wanted to ground you guys in why you took AP Bio. So I know that this year is hard, and I know that it's tempting to take the easy way out. But I didn't become a teacher so you guys could get good grades without actually learning. I became a teacher because I love science, and I became a teacher because I love helping other people love science. That's what I love to do, and that's what I do best. This year's hard, and on some level, I can't blame those of you who are feeling overwhelmed and stressed and just like looked up the answers so that you could feel a little bit less stressed and so that you could get a good grade and move on. But that is something that is not acceptable. And so, again, maybe my fault. I knew that the answers were out there. I had more hope in you than maybe I should have. And so we are changing some things up moving forward. The assessments are going to be open note moving forward. This is because I know that the reason why those students did look up the answers is probably because they're feeling stressed and overwhelmed. And I want the assessments to really reflect what you know. And I think having open note assessments is a fair way to alleviate some stress while at the same time having the assessments serve the purpose they're supposed to. So any notes that you take, use them. You learned those things, you wrote those things down, use that knowledge to help you answer questions. It is not open internet, however. That being said, I am going to do a better job at selecting questions more carefully. I am going to research the questions that I put on assessments to make sure that they cannot be found online. Or I'm just going to make brand new questions altogether so that they're impossible to find online because they're not there, because I made them up. And then the assessments will also be timed, and this time is going to be strict. So these are the changes that I'm going to make to assessments moving forward in order to reduce the opportunity for individuals to look answers up online. That being said, I want to just bring us back to this is what this class should look like. These are pictures from AP Biology last year. People are talking to one another. They're engaging in discussions. They're doing things with their hands. They're using manipulatives and doing labs. And I know that this is not what this looks like. And Miss Luce and I are doing our best to make this year as meaningful and fun as we can. And it's hard to do that when we only have access to each other through a computer. And we only have access to research and materials through a computer. So we're all just doing our best here. Regardless, even if it can't look exactly like this, the goals and the outcomes at the end of the year are the same. We want to get you guys that college credit. We want you to learn. We want you to be able to take this knowledge that you learn to future science classes. If you don't actually learn anything, you're setting yourself up for failure in the future. You'll get to college, take a science class in college, and you won't know anything. And you will go and take the AP test in May, and you won't pass. And it's nobody's fault necessarily if you are actually doing your best and if you are doing what you need to do to learn. That also means reaching out to me and Miss Luce and telling us what we could do better. Asking us questions if you need help. So that's my whole speech. That's my whole spiel. That's why your formatives aren't being graded. And again, I am so sorry to those of you who were honest, who did really try, who did do your best. We see you and we appreciate you. We just didn't feel like that was the best move to grade these formatives this time around. Hopefully these new changes will help. And then after this speech, we are going over the actual case study. Because those of us who did look up the answers online didn't actually learn anything from it. So moving on to the case study itself. So assignment 1, you were supposed to look at the emails and figure out what the primary messenger was, or the first messenger, the second messenger, explain why these arrows got bigger, and explain what the response is. So the response is easy. The response is the last thing that happens. So the response is relaxation. The part that might not have been so intuitive in this is that the relaxation is actually the normal process. The relaxation leads to erection because when that smooth muscle cell relaxes, blood can flow in. And that is the ultimate response. But anyways, the response is the relaxation, and regardless of the pathway, it's always whatever happens at the very end. The other things might not have been as easy, but notice here that I have 2 cells. I have a smooth muscle cell and I have an endothelial or neuronal cell. The smooth muscle cell is where the response happens. So that is where the ligand or the initial signal is going to go. So notice here, it comes from 2 different places, but it's the nitric oxide that is the initial signal or the ligand, because that is what goes in that smooth muscle cell, kick off the process. It can come from the neuronal cell, or it could just come from somewhere else in the body. But it's the nitric oxide that is the initial signal. Another part that might not have been too intuitive is related to the second messenger. And it's because this image here doesn't actually show the receptor in a way that is visually recognizable. The CG, or the GC rather, is the receptor. This is the receptor, and I'll show you how you can tell that. The nitric oxide is the ligand. So it binds to the GC, and you know that because here this little dash signifies that the NO is bonded to the GC. And that is what makes it active. It starts inactive because it's just a receptor that's there. Nitric oxide comes in, binds to it, and now it's active. So the GC is actually the receptor. And then the receptor, when it's activated, that's reception that kicks off the process. The second messenger is typically the first thing that's activated in the actual process itself. So look here, the GTP is activated, turned into cGMP by the reception. So the second messenger is actually the cGMP. There was another question related to where is that receptor? And based on this whole thing that I just told you, you probably or hopefully are thinking that the receptor is on the inside of the cell based on the way that this picture is set up here. So the nitric oxide comes in, and also notice how it doesn't point to the GC, meaning that it doesn't just activate the GC or turn into the GC or anything like that. The arrow is pointing here to this, meaning that they come together. So that NO and the GC come together and bond. That's reception. So the GC is the receptor. The second messenger is the first thing that gets activated after reception. So reception happened here. This was the first thing to become activated. This is my second messenger. Because the box is representing the cell, that receptor was inside of the cytoplasm. It was intracellular, meaning inside of the cell. This diagram here, you were trying to figure out how ginseng and Viagra affect this pathway. So this pathway is the same exact pathway as this one here. The only difference is the way that it is represented. The only thing that's different is how it is visually portrayed. But it's the same kind of thing. The nitric oxide is my ligand. It comes in, binds to the GC, which is the receptor. That activates my second messenger. And then that second messenger can do one of two things. And it does both of those things regardless. It goes and makes some PDE5, and it also goes and makes some PKG. The PKG does a lot of things, but you honestly actually don't even care about this because I only care about that same response from the previous question or previous image. We know that the relaxation based on this up here is the response. So I care about what PKG does this way. So PKG uses MLAC-P-TACE to activate MLC, and that leads to the relaxation. Anything that enhances an erection would enhance this process. So ginseng, the question told you it affected the nitric oxide in particular. It also told you that it enhanced erection, so it enhances the response. So the response and the ligand are directly related because the ligand leads to the response. So if the medicine affects the ligand and we know that it increases the response, then it must also increase the ligand. Because an increase in ligand would increase this whole process. More of this, more of all of this, more relaxation, more erection. Same kind of thing with Viagra, but it specifically was asking about how it affects the PDE5. So again, if erection is enhanced by Viagra, I'm getting more relaxation, meaning more of this entire process. So this is happening more, this is happening more, and I have more cGMP. The question in particular is asking about the PDE5. So in this question, I don't care about anything else, I care about this. If I'm getting more cGMP, I'm getting more PDE5 as well. If both of these proteins are working, but you're still not getting erection, then that means, let me make sure that that was the right question. If neither chemical works, so meaning that the Viagra doesn't work and the ginseng doesn't work. So something must be broken. So we just said that the ginseng enhances nitric oxide. So this whole process should be okay. So that just means something else after that ligand comes in is messed up.